All right, thank you. I don't know how I transition from that powerful demonstration into hacking, except to say that maybe some of the folks that don't progress through the program well, those are the ones I have to go after, okay? Gosh, it was so motivational, actually. I just want to drop everything I'm doing and come work with you guys, to be honest. Well, you know, Sinan was really, I'm so humbled that he asked me to come up and talk a little bit about cybersecurity and AI, because that is what I've really sort of committed my whole professional life to. So it really started with me, actually when I was 19 years old, I got a wonderful ticket to go to Australia. I never thought I'd get a chance to go again from my stepfather who worked for the United Airlines. And so we got free tickets to go. And I was on my way. I was in university, and I thought, gosh, how exciting would this be? And we had our flight from LA to Honolulu, no problem. And then from Honolulu, we took off, and about 15 minutes in, huge explosion in the front of the plane occurred. A 20 by 40 foot hole was ripped out of the plane, and 10 rows of seats left from business class. And none of us believed we were going to survive. We were all praying and holding each other's hands, even though I had never met any of these people. And it was absolutely, I think, the most defining moment of my life. Because I had realized that, gosh, when I was young, I never thought I'd grow up to be 20 or 21. I was one of those kids, you know, I'm like, I know I'm never going to make it. And I thought to myself, damn it, I was right. I'm not going to make this thing. But when we got on the ground, and we got on the ground safely, thanks to an amazing pilot and co-pilot, I really was curious, why did this happen? What was the root cause of this problem? And how could we learn from it? I never wanted even my worst enemies to go through that experience. And I thought to myself, I dedicated myself to, okay, how can I apply myself into the world that actually prevents really bad stuff from happening? So that's what really got me into my journey of cybersecurity. I was in technology. I had sort of a knack for breaking into systems, of course, all authorized, never unauthorized. At least that's what I'm telling you guys. And I don't know, I have a slide deck, but maybe I can just walk you, I don't even need to walk you through it, but sure. Yeah, go ahead. So cybersecurity, really, in a nutshell, is, hey, there are bad people that do bad things. We want to be able to prevent them. But to do that, you have to understand this whole space. Oh, thank you, sir. No, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. And is it down or right? Okay, gotcha. So to understand cybersecurity, you guys probably experience it all the time, right? With like viruses or pop-ups, Trojans, ransomware. You've probably heard all these terms. But what many people don't know is, what's the root cause of all this stuff? Like, why does all this stuff exist? Why is it so easy for these bad guys, or even 12-year-olds bored out of their minds in the basements, to doing this work? It really comes down to two things. The people that develop the software and hardware, and NVIDIA's a great example, they either introduce a vulnerability, an exploit that can be taken advantage of, or they build features in the product that can be exploited for bad, what we call business logic flaws. So these two really are at the heart of it all, and they're expressed in three different groups. First is execution-based hacks or attacks. These are viruses and Trojans and all this bad stuff. There's identity-based hacks, which are really, I steal your password, and well, I know you reuse it on these 10 systems, and I'm just going to go and crush all those systems with your password. And it looks like I'm really smart, right? Like, wow, this hacker got into all my 10 systems. No, you know, I just got one password, right? And then third is denial of service. So an attack can be waged against a target by flooding it with absolutely normal functional requests, but it's never been built to handle that many, and so it'll crash. Those are the three. That's it. Every single attack you see in a headline fits into one of those three. Then the second part that you have to think about is, okay, where do you value intervention in that problem? Most people will just put up, smoke detectors in their house and hopefully catch the smoke from the fire and respond quick enough. That's what we call detect and respond. But there's a way to prevent. And it's my journey, has been for 35 years, to try and educate, show, demonstrate, build technologies that help predict and prevent. And AI allowed me to do that. So there are two types that we really drive inside cybersecurity AI for good. And that really is these large language models, which you've seen all the time, right? OpenAI, ChatGPTs, Lambdas, all this stuff. And then there's predictive AI. Now, you can think of the generational stuff. Yes, we can use it for good, but the bad guys are going to use it a lot better than us for quite some time. The predictive AI is actually where we can really thrive. And that's what we did at Cylance, my last company. We took large amounts of viruses, billions of files, and we fed it into a computer learning engine. And we said, okay, teach us what looks like a bad file and what looks like a good file, right? Pretty simple concept. And then we put it on every computer, mobile device, and everything else. And it's able to detect and prevent 99.999. That's pretty dramatic. So when we saw that that worked incredibly well, I decided, well, we've got to get that ahead of the bad application of AI, which is inevitable. And so you probably, if you haven't heard of places like this, but there's Fraud GPT now, there's Worm GPT, Auto GPT, Pen Test GPT. So think of it as the bad guys are leveraging this stuff now to truly hack you. So it can ask a GPT something like, hey, I want to target Eric, and I need an email that looks super legitimate, something that he would click on knowing his personality and what you've learned about him in the marketplace and in the world, with logos and links that are live and active and all this kind of stuff, and it will produce it dramatically well. And then me, being the bad guy, would send it to you. And of course, you would click on that link, most likely. Not because you're not incredibly intelligent and smart, simply because the bad guys are getting so darn sophisticated. So what we really have to do, in my mind, is we have to look at AI as the bad guys are going to get ahead of it first. There's just no two ways about that. But we have to get there really fast. And so we have to think ahead of them as well. We have to think of, okay, if a bad guy is going to use AI to generate that email, well, I want to put an agent on your computer that would be able to tell the difference using AI between a malicious and a legitimate email, for example. So we look for companies in that space. After leaving Cylance and BlackBerry, I started an AI incubator called Number One AI. We're here in Newport Beach. And I raised $13 million, and so we fund early ideas. We also accelerate some AI companies that can apply predictive AI into all kinds of problems, not just cybersecurity. So we'll go into supply and demand planning, we'll go into market tech, ad tech, HR tech, health tech. And one of the ideas that we have, one of the companies, could really work well with you guys, I believe. So I'll follow up with you. But the whole goal is to predict and prevent disaster, problems, issues, concerns. And so that is what we're trying to do. Now, I'll leave you with this last thought. The attack surface area of AI is really important. And we're building so many of these incredibly sophisticated systems out there that's learning from incredible amounts of data. But what we're not thinking about is, well, how is a bad guy going to exploit this? So if you look, it's a little hard to read, but on the bottom there, you see a Silence I Kill You graphic. So in 2018, Cylance itself was hacked. Now, not the company, but the model, the AI model was hacked. And it was done so by simple brute forcing. So we gave our product to everybody out there, and they downloaded the model, and offline they brute forced every little change of a file, like one bit at a time, and we're able to bypass it. So we were thrilled actually about this, because we could fix it very quickly, and we got smarter and smarter and smarter. And a lot of people sort of worry about that they're getting hacked, or that people are trying to bypass their systems, and we love that. We think it's wonderful. I mean, there's no such thing as perfection, but we've got to get better and better by people taking a look at it. And so for us, that attack surface area is something that we really need to think about. So there's a system called MITRE ATLAS, which is a pretty good one. We have the OWASP Top 10, etc. to think about it. But I've built my whole career and pretty much my life on the idea that you need to think evil, but do good. It's the only way to stay ahead of the bad guys. And inevitably, to deal with them, you got to be like water, because otherwise you just give up. So anyway, that's it for me. Thank you very much.